Welcome once more to the hallowed halls of our grand library. Today our tale takes us into the depths of history, where we shall uncover the secrets of the ancient swampland known as Dustwallow Marsh. Join me, Hogarth the Orc Slayer, as we weave the tale of this perilous land. Dustwallow Marsh is a sultry wetland in central Kalimdor, situated to the southeast of the Barrens and to the north of Thousand Needles. This marshland remains in a perpetually soggy, muggy and hot state, unsuitable for conventional settlements and a sanctuary for creatures that thrive in dampness and humidity. Orientating oneself can be a formidable challenge in this vast jungle, where towering trees cast deep shadows and where raptors, spiders and of course crocolisks patiently stalk, seeking their prey among those who dare to approach their dwellings. Many intrepid souls have faltered on their path within this dense wilderness. Dustwallow Marsh has gained its reputation through the long-standing presence of the Alliance on Theramore Isle. The island's rugged waters make sea travel from distant ports a challenging endeavour. Paradoxically, the most secure approach to the Alliance stronghold is through the treacherous swampland. While it may pose difficulties for travellers, it provides them with the opportunity to craft remarkable stories. In today's account, we delve into those ancient narratives. In ancient times, the area now occupied by Dustwallow Marsh was a lofty plateau, abundant with herds of animals that thrived amidst the tall grasses. However, around 10,000 years ago, during the climax of the War of the Ancients, a cataclysmic event known as the Great Sundering unfolded. The implosion of the destabilized Well of Eternity led to the fracturing of ancient Kalimdor. Only a mere 20% of Kalimdor's landmass remained, while the remaining 80% sank beneath the ocean's depths. Fortunately, some of the regions in central Kalimdor endured above sea level, and one of those ancient regions is present today as Dustwallow Marsh. However, it did not come out unscathed. In contrast to the once vast high plains that covered this land, the intrusion of seawater transformed the landscape into the marsh we now observe. The inhabitants of this area suffered severe losses, and the creatures here underwent a kind of Azerothian natural selection. As a result, the only creatures that now inhabit this marshland are those well suited to its challenging conditions. Dustwallow Marsh has become the habitat for water-loving murlocs, groups of raptors, herbivorous kodos, and of course, the fearsome crocolisks. Owing to the lurking dangers within the Dustwallow Marsh, human presence in the region was virtually non-existent for countless centuries. That changed with the arrival of Jaina Proudmoore. Amid the scourge invasion that ravaged the Eastern Kingdoms, Jaina Proudmoore gathered as many survivors from Lordaeron as she could, and sailed west to the long-forgotten shores of Kalimdor. Years later, during the pivotal final moments of the Third War and the epic battle of Mount Hyjal, all surviving humans, dwarves and high elves from Jaina's expedition established their new settlement along the coast of Dustwallow Marsh. Here they constructed the island fortress of Theramore to protect the remaining members of the faltering Alliance. In typical Alliance fashion, rather than fading into obscurity, they embarked on an expansion of their modest dominion within the Dustwallow Marsh. The Alliance forces extended their reach into the swamp, constructing well-defended watchtowers at strategic locations along the road to the Barrens. Under the leadership of Jaina Proudmoore, the Alliance continued to establish what seemed to be a relatively peaceful control over the marsh. However, as is the nature on Azeroth, this peace proved short-lived and crumbled in the events that transpired as part of the Alliance's pursuit of undisputed dominance. 1 year prior, during the events of the Third War, Jaina's father Daelin, the esteemed Grand Admiral of the Alliance and Supreme Commander of their naval forces, received word that the new Horde under the leadership of Thrall were seizing ships from Southshore. Following a journey laden with adventures and a tale to be recounted on another occasion, Daelin would pursue the Horde to new lands. After the endeavours on this new territory were over, Daelin would then return to his kingdom of Treacherous. Fueled by unwavering loyalty, he rallied a significant portion of his fleet and set sail across the Great Sea to Kalimdor. And he did so in search of his daughter Jaina and the survivors who had fled there following the fall of Lordaeron to the Scourge. Daelin Proudmoore held what you could call outdated ideology. He believed it imperative to crush the Horde before they could establish a foothold in Kalimdor. He instructed Lieutenant Alvarold to lead an exploratory fleet to scout the coasts of Kalimdor. These forces began raiding the coast and targeting Orcish settlements, including those of the Darkspear Troll-occupied Echo Isles. In an effort to safeguard his tribe, the Troll chieftain, Vol'jin, relocated his forces to the Dustwallow Marsh. This newly established base within the marsh served as a hub for Rexxar, Rokan, and Chen Stormstout. Rexxar then successfully recruited the ogres of the Stonemaul clan, who resided in the region, into the Horde by defeating their tyrannical leader, Korgal. Battle erupted throughout the marsh, culminating in the Kultiran forces' retreat, ultimately arriving at Theramore Isle. Upon arrival, Daelin was elated to discover Jaina's survival, but was perplexed by her unconventional company. Rexxar the Mok'Nathal, Rokan the Darkspear Troll Shadow Hunter, and Chen Stormstout, the Pandaren Brewmaster, all allies of the Horde he was fighting against. Daelin promptly ordered their arrest, but Jaina intervened and assisted Rexxar and his companions in escaping. Daelin, unwilling to entertain Jaina's explanations, seized control of Theramore and employed it as the launching point for his vendetta against the Orcs. And this is where he established a naval blockade around Theramore Isle to prevent a Horde counterattack. What the Admiral did not anticipate was his own daughter siding against him. Jaina came to realise that her father was trapped in the past, and that his obsession with the Orcs would only result in more unnecessary death and destruction for both sides. She aided Rexxar in destroying the ships. Subsequently, the Horde laid siege to Theramore and fought their way to the Admiral's Keep, where Rexxar confronted Admiral Proudmoore himself. Thrall attempted to reason with the Admiral, emphasising that the Horde had changed since their past conflicts. Daelin, however, remained obstinate in his belief that the Orcs could never change and engaged in battle. After a grueling confrontation, Daelin Proudmoore, a victim of his own hatred, met his end. In the wake of these occurrences, Jaina not only had to grapple with the loss of her esteemed father, but also the deterioration of the fragile peace between the Alliance and the Horde. Following the turmoil incited by Daelin and his Kultirans, the Horde regrouped and established a larger encampment in Brackenwall Village to the northwest within the Dustwallow Marsh. This encampment was where the Horde enlisted the Stonemaul Ogres. The Stonemaul Ogres, who generally show little interest in the world beyond, have left much of the area between Theramore Isle and the Horde settlement in its natural state. Even the road leading to the Barrens was rapidly deteriorating. While Daelin Proudmoore's Alliance loyalists occasionally harass Brackenwall, Jaina maintains control over her forces, and at that time most of the Horde members in the region were engaging in peaceful trade with Theramore. But as expected, from both sides there were some who continued to assail travellers. In the southern reaches of the marsh, the Black Dragonflight established its presence, and consequently these portions of the swamp have garnered the names Dragonmurk and Wormbog. Up until recent, the Stonemaul Ogres resided in relative peace within Stonemaul Village in this area. Before long, the Black Dragonspawn launched a devastating attack on the village, leading to a harrowing retreat of the surviving Stonemaul Ogres to Brackenwall. And now these ogres, as you would expect, carry a fervent desire for revenge against their assailants. The presence of the Black Dragonflight in Dustwallow Marsh is not unexpected, given that the region once served as the dwelling of the broodmother of the Black Dragonflight on Azeroth. Onyxia, the daughter of Deathwing, had her lair situated in the southernmost extents of Dustwallow Marsh. The full story of Onyxia is a complex one that exceeds the scope of our current narrative. However, her downfall is a tale that can be linked to the Dustwallow Marsh. After her true form was exposed within the confines of Stormwind City, the Great Dragon seized the Crown Prince, Anduin Wrynn, whisking him away to her lair and daring his father Varian to follow. The Alliance swiftly descended upon her lair in the Dustwallow Marsh. This is where Jaina disabled the magical barriers, while Varian and his allies employed both steel and magic in an attempt to vanquish Onyxia's brood. Before delving further into the fall of Onyxia, it's crucial to recount some of the lore behind Varian Rin and why he might be referred to as either Logosh or Varian. Varian was once abducted by the Devious Brotherhood, acting under the orders of Onyxia. During his captivity on Alkaz Island, a duplicate of his being was created through dark magic. During his travels, one of the Varians proved himself a formidable gladiator in the lands of Kalimdor and earned the moniker of Logosh in the Crimson Ring's gladiator contest. Now, with all of that information, we can of course proceed with the tale of Onyxia's demise. Inside her lair, they encountered the broodmother herself holding Anduin hostage in her iron grip. Onyxia threatened to end Anduin's life if Varian didn't surrender Stormwind to her. Anduin urged his father not to give in to her threats, and Logosh agreed to fight, and if necessary, die alongside Anduin. Logosh hurled a knife at the dragon's claws to loosen her grip on Anduin, who fell from a great height, but was saved by Brawl Beermantle, who transformed into a raven to catch him mid-air. With Anduin's safety secured, the Stormwind army pressed on. Both Varians led the assault against Onyxia, engaging her in of course fierce battle. Weapons and magic clashed with her numerous dragonkin as both sides fought relentlessly. Onyxia cast a fierce spell on Brawl and tail-swiped Jaina, removing them from the battle after growing frustrated by their spellcasting. Desperate to end the fight, Onyxia began casting the spell she intended to use on Alkaz Island to kill Logosh. The spell became disrupted by having two Varians in its path, and after a moment of silence, Varian emerged, his two halves fused back together. Onyxia made a last-ditch attempt to incinerate him, but Varian swiftly reached her head and impaled her with his newly fused elven sword, Charlemagne. With Onyxia's demise, Varian reunited with his son and friends, assuring them that their noble deeds would be rewarded and Stormwind had been reborn with new hope for the future. King Varian then decapitated Onyxia, and would later display her head from the ramparts of Stormwind, while Brawl Beermantle summoned roots to seal her lair's entrance and to destroy her unhatched progeny. After the demise of Onyxia, Dustwallow Marsh experienced a period of relative calm and tranquility before the events of the Burning Crusade and the invasion of Outland. It was during this time that the goblins of the Steamweedle cartel established the town of Mudsprocket in the southwest of Dustwallow Marsh. Similar to the seaside settlement of Bogpaddle in the Swamp of Sorrows, the goblins of Mudsprocket were considered an extension of the goblins of Gadgetzan. In previous stories, we've recounted tales of the goblins from Gadgetzan and Bogpaddle. If you're interested in learning more about these cunning beings, you can find a convenient and safe portal to those stories in the description below. Simultaneously, the formidable Grim Totem tribe, known as one of the mightiest Tauren tribes, extended their presence in the area. They established the Blackhoof Village in the northern reaches, where they held captive Theramore guards, eagerly awaiting a friendly rescue. This outpost also concealed the secret of the Shady Rest Inn's fiery demise. During the Cataclysm, Dustwallow Marsh remained largely unscathed by the Shattering. However, as often is the case in Azeroth, this tranquility was short-lived. Following the fall of Deathwing, Theramore came under attack on the orders of Garrosh Hellscream. Garrosh, the war chief of the Horde at the time, had been chosen by Thrall to succeed him in the aftermath of the Cataclysm. Driven by a quest for notoriety, legacy, and unparalleled dominance, Garrosh's hunger for recognition led him to believe that conquering Theramore would earn him the respect of the prominent Horde chieftains such as Bane Bloodhoof and Vol'jin. Garrosh's ambitions for the Isle extended far beyond common knowledge. His agents acquired information about the focusing Iris, and he ordered the assassination of the blue dragon tasked with protecting it. And so the Iris itself was delivered to the war chief. In addition, Garrosh commissioned the creation of a mana bomb, a potent invention developed by the Blood Elves years earlier in Outland. By forcing and maneuvering the Alliance forces into the heart of Theramore, the mana bomb, enhanced by the power of the stolen focusing Iris, was dropped directly onto Theramore. The entire island was utterly obliterated. The casualties resulting from the swift strike were staggering, including the loss of many of the Alliance's most accomplished generals, and it was fortunate that Lady Jaina Proudmoore herself narrowly escaped the explosion. This triumph would come at a price. Jaina, who had managed to survive the attack, was profoundly affected by the traumatic experience and the lingering energies of the mana bomb. She became consumed by a desire for vengeance against Garrosh, leading her to embark on a mission to annihilate him. Her quest for retribution took her to Orgrimmar, where she contemplated a similar fate for its inhabitants as the one her own nation had endured. However, in the end, she chose not to go through with it and instead directed her rage towards Garrosh's fleet. As a result of the devastation in Theramore, the Alliance found themselves motivated and determined to step up their war efforts, contrary to Garrosh's initial expectations of crushing them. While receiving updates of the naval battles from the newly promoted General Nazgrim, the war chief received shocking news that the Alliance forces had been stranded during a naval confrontation in the south. This led to the discovery of an uncharted land rumoured to be named Pandaria. Garrosh was furious that the Alliance had reached this new territory ahead of the Horde, and he swiftly ordered General Nazgrim to assemble his finest troops to claim Pandaria for their own faction. Following the orders of Hellscream, years later Theramore Isle still remained in ruins, with lingering remnants of the mana bomb's devastating energies. In the years that followed and throughout the conflict that was the battle for Azeroth, both the Horde and the Alliance explored the possibility of using Theramore Isle as a strategic base for their war efforts. However, the persistent energies from the mana bomb prevented any such establishment. After the Fourth War, Zkhan and Rexxar reported encountering ghosts in the ruins. The ghosts served as a somber reminder to Rexxar that war leaves lasting scars on Azeroth, and what remains is never quite the same. With the awakening of the Dragon Isles, a group of renegade mages called the Sullied Banner arrived at the ruins. Led by Chewie Flickerflame, a former apprentice of the late Archmage Ronin, they began clearing the rubble, extinguishing the fires, and developing prototype mana bombs. Their activities attracted the attention of the Blue Dragonflight. Instead of descending into conflict, the rogue mages, including their leader Turi, were apprehended by an adventurer, and Kaligos successfully persuaded them to abandon their hazardous endeavours. And this would mark the last known chapter in the history of Theramore Isle and the Dustwallow Marsh. In Azeroth's history, the tale of Theramore Isle and the Dustwallow Marsh serves as a poignant reflection of the world's enduring spirit. This once serene place held the delicate balance of life within its embrace, but the relentless march of war shattered its tranquility. Jaina Proudmoore's arrival kindled hope, only to be eclipsed by Deathwing's cataclysmic arrival, which foreshadowed a tragedy that would forever change the course of history. Garrosh Hellscreams' quest for power culminating in the ruthless destruction of Theramore by a mana bomb, Jaina's transformation from a beacon of peace to a harbinger of vengeance, stands as a haunting testament to the heavy toll of war, and the scars left by the mana bomb's fury serve as a lasting reminder. In the end, Dustwallow Marsh stands as a testament to the resilience of life amid adversity. Theramore Isle remains a place of profound suffering, bearing witness to the indomitable spirit of Azeroth's inhabitants and their ability to heal the deepest wounds caused by war. Thank you for joining us on this odyssey through the Dustwallow Marsh. Until we meet again within the hallowed confines of our grand library, may your journeys be safe, and may the wonders of Azeroth continue to unfurl before you.